Flavor has always been important to card games. When you look at a standard set of ordinary playing cards, they don't have an 11, 12, or 13 card. Instead, they have jacks, queens, and kings, with the kings having the highest value in the deck, a flavorful representation of how much power kings hold. And this flavor also helps with the gameplay, as in many games out there, the king is one of the most powerful cards in the deck. The king's power works in parallel, both flavorfully and from a gameplay perspective. This may seem like a simple example, but it goes so much deeper than that. TCGs like Flesh and Blood are entirely built with the flavor of fantastical worlds within them. And while flavor technically isn't necessary to make a fun card game mechanically, good flavor can elevate a game to new heights. And yeah, Flesh and Blood is a game brimming with flavor. Join me as I explore the cards designed by LSS made to populate the world of Wraith. This is Flavor and Design in Flesh and Blood. To start things off, I just want to go over one of my favorite cards in the game, Scar for a Scar. This is a powerful card that sees play in a wide range of aggressive decks, but more importantly, the card gains Go Again if you have a lower health total than your opponent, meaning often enough, it incentivizes you to allow your opponent to deal damage to you to have your health go below your opponent for this extra effect. Thus, you are letting your opponent get a scar for a scar. It's a perfect mix of gameplay functionality with flavor, and the developers of the game seem to think so as well, as we've gotten a couple variations on the card in question, like Life for a Life and Pound for a Pound. And there are a plethora of fun and flavorful cards just like this that exist in the game. The constructed All-Star Art of War is a good example. The card holds a grab bag of different effects that all allow you to use your attack actions in a wide variety of different ways, whether it's offensive, defensive, or cycling them out for other resources. This ability to use your attack actions in different and creative ways is a fantastic representation of the interesting war tactics that can be found in Sun Tzu's actual book, Art of War, and makes the card a fantastic homage to the book in question. Along with it, it's hard not to enjoy Erase Face, the powerful new card that literally erases your opponent's identity when it hits. And this isn't just a cheeky and flavorful addition either. There are a lot of gameplay applications that getting rid of your opponent's identity can have too, whether it's stopping fusions or getting rid of draconic chain links, for example. It's another successful mix of flavor and function. And of course, Showtime is another favorite of mine, being an aura that sets a player up for making a big and powerful attack on the next turn. Flavor-wise, it is literally getting you and your opponent ready for the crazy stuff you're going to do on your next turn. And even more interesting than that is the fact that it is a Bravo specialization, meaning not only is it a powerful and flavorful card, but it also gives us some insight on the type of person Bravo is. Without even reading any supplemental material, we already know quite a bit about Bravo and how he's a performer, creating great feats for his audience. That's a good segue into the most interesting and impactful way that LSS builds flavor into the game, and that's the various classes and heroes. The 10 main classes that currently populate the game each have extremely unique styles of gameplay associated with them, each with unique strengths and weaknesses that not only make them stand out from each other, but heavily flavor the way they play, similar to how you would expect them to. For example, the Brute class has a lot of massive attacks with powerful effects behind them. But while they have a lot of big attacks, it comes at the cost of their defense, as many of their cards can't block, and many of these Brute attacks cause you to randomly discard cards, which makes planning your specific attacks difficult with this class. Not to mention, Brute currently is the only class in the game that does not have any on-hit triggers. This shows their lack of finesse. If you're blocking a Brute, it's not to prevent on-hit triggers, but to prevent yourself from losing to their overwhelming attack power. That is, if you can block them, as a Brute has a lot of powerful ways to prevent blocks by removing cards from the hand of the defender. But yeah, that overwhelming aggressive attack power, coupled with the built-in randomness, is very unique among the other classes in question, but also flavorfully invokes how Brutes work in other media as well. You aren't playing a hero in Flesh and Blood who happens to be a Brute. You are the Brute, and that's a big deal for the game's flavor. On the flip side, you've got the Ranger class. This class acts as kind of the polar opposite to the Brute. Focusing more on small arrow-based attacks, the Ranger's strength lies in their ability to cripple the opponent with negative on-hit triggers whenever one of their arrows hits. Whether it's getting rid of their actions or having them take additional damage, while most of the Ranger's attacks are small, you definitely don't want to be hit by them. Though, a downside of the Ranger is their lack of an actual weapon. If you don't have arrows to load, your bow can be pretty useless. So while the Brute's MO is to attack with overwhelming force, the Ranger is trying harder to have their arrows connect to negatively affect your opponent in one way or another. Prepping the arrows with buff cards or even firing off multiple arrows a turn are all ways the Ranger can go about this. But either way, the Ranger class plays completely different than the Brute. And the class really does feel like, well, an actual Ranger. And I could go on and on about each and every one of the classes and each hero represented within. They all play uniquely, and they all play in such a way that you would expect them to flavorfully work. It's a great way to jump into the game and say, hey, I love the idea of being a ninja, so let's try playing Katsu for instance, as he'll definitely play in a way similar to what you would expect him to. And honestly, the flavor is a large part for the success of the game. I keep hearing people bring heroes like Levia and Azalea to major tournaments, and for those of you who don't know, these heroes are widely regarded as some of the worst in the game. So why do people keep bringing this stuff to play with them? Well, it's because the heroes are cool, and the gameplay surrounding them is fun and interesting. A game where people bring cards and heroes to tournaments not because they believe they are the strongest options, but simply because they enjoy the cards and like the heroes, is a game that has successfully engrossed people into its world, and characters, and most importantly, flavor. Every single class in Flesh and Blood is someone's favorite class, and every hero in the game is someone's favorite hero. LSS has built the world of Wraith extremely well, and represented all the various types of classes and heroes found beautifully. Not only from the design and gameplay perspective, but even the art and the unique frames for every class help to build the world and the characters into more than just game pieces. There are characters we love, characters we want to be, and that, in my opinion, is the greatest strength of Flesh and Blood, and a strength I hope they continue to make use of in the coming years. But anyways, that's my take on the game and the flavor found within. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe, and be sure to comment below what some of your favorite classes and cards are and why. Bonus points for card and class analyses. But that's enough out of me for now. I'll see you guys later. Bye.